Good day. South Africa is at an inflection point, and I think we're at a time when particularly the African National Congress, the governing party since 1994, needs to take drastic action in order to move the country forward. If you look at it, the ANC has been in power, and some of its cadres at local government level, provincial level, as well as national government level, have been allegedly involved in corrupt activities to the extent that South Africa ranks very highly internationally in terms of the proliferation or the prevalence of corruption in the country. The challenge with where we are currently is that we are emerging from a period in which state power was crudely privatized and given to business people who disregarded the governing party, the ANC. And while we thought that at the Nasrec conference, the change of leadership to President Ramaphosa represented the beginning of a new dawn in the country, what's emerging every now and then, especially given the reports of the public protector about the roles that have been played by the president himself and others in what seems to be wrongdoing. These are worrisome, and they leave one with this question. What if President Cyril Ramaphosa and his entire leadership and all those in the NEC of the ANC took a decision that was meant to save the party and therefore save the country? To me, what's pretty clear is that the generation that represents all that is bad in the party are people who have really been there during the struggle days and have gone on to occupy powerful positions in democratic South Africa, particularly the 1940s, 50s generation, and some in the 60s. And for me, the much of the impasse politically within the ANC is among that generation, because you have the people who feel that it is time for me to realize what I have been working on since the struggle days, rising to the echelons of power within the ANC. And what complicates matters even worse is that you have people, the link between ANC office and public office, and therefore the public purse, has narrowed since the crazy decision with hindsight was taken of eliminating two centers of power, such that those who lead at a party level must lead at a government level. Now, if those in power currently can recognize that their mandate in history is to facilitate a transition from one generation to another, that would help us a big deal. Because I think the rest of the term of President Cyril Ramaphosa could then be used to facilitate a transfer of power away from anybody and everybody who's been involved in one way or another in the factional battles of the ANC as we know them. South Africa doesn't lack in leadership talent. There is a lot of leaders who have been in government and in the private sector, or some of them, by the way, are still very young leaders, and they are very well capable of responding to a historic mission of taking the country forward at this critical time. And I think that those who are in the levers of power now should recognize that they have reached a political impasse that seems to be intractable. It's impossible for them, in the zero-sum approach they have been approaching politics, for South Africa to remain a sustainable country politically, given the fact that victory, for example, whether that victory comes from the legal or political platforms, for one group is seen to be a loss for another. And in fact, at this stage, No win-win solution among these groups within the ANC is desirable, because at the altar of such a win-win solution would need to be justice, and it would need to be some of the values on which our country and our constitution is founded. Given that intractable nature then of the problem they face, the failure or undesirability of a win-win outcome, because it would be compromising to our values, and the fact that the results among those that are in the higher levers of power in the ANC can mainly be zero-sum, such that one person wins, the other loses, and that is defined along factional battles, then they need to take the bold and decisive decision to say, let us all quit and let us go and recruit people, one, who cannot be traced in any of the factional battles, two, whose integrity and repute is as outlined in the ANC constitution, in the ANC resolutions at Polokwane and in Mangaung. Also, people who meet the leadership attributes in Through the Eye of the Needle and the document on leadership renewal accepted at the Mangaung conference. If they did this, one, they would be allowing the leaders within the party to focus on the legal battles they are facing, including the president, by the way, and all those that support him, as well as those that have been alleged strongly to have facilitated state capture, to focus on all their legal woes, while at the same time saves brand ANC from further batterings as a result of these internal wars among these camps within the party. If they do these, they will be helping to bring in a new breed of leaders whose commitment, and by the way, whose claim to fame will not be that they played a role one way or another during the time that has long passed, but it will be people who need to show their worth in this time. So it's very important that those in the ANC, including President Ramaphosa, by the way, read what the moment is and facilitate a change of leadership. Who knows, for example, President Cyril Ramaphosa could do what Boris Yeltsin did for Ronald Lamola, or any of those leaders, where he says, for example, I am bowing out and I'm electing so-and-so, I'm appointing so-and-so to act in my position. And this will have to be an agreement, by the way, by all of them at once, so that the exit doesn't get to be seen to be a victory for one camp of the ANC or another. If they fail to do this, there's one guaranteed fact. The ANC will not see the light of day come the elections in 2024. 2021, the local government elections, it may be an undecided election because you have no clear contender to take power from the ANC as the DA faces its own internal battles, which can be expected to become stronger as we get close to the leadership of that party. The EFF, I wish that they would divorce themselves from the internal dynamics of the ANC if they want to still be an alternative in the country. Otherwise, they stand being further embroiled and seen to be an extension of ANC camps, and they can upset a lot of people. They are a political party that up until only recently has had a great potential in the political system, but that cannot necessarily remain fixed throughout time if they are making the tactical political gambits that they are making now. So South Africa is at an inflection point, and we need those that are in the political system to read the moment right and facilitate a leadership change, or they can be forced to do so by the young people who need to ascend to power.